The plane was flying above Hawaii. The ocean was calm. The sky was bright. But then, the roof disappeared. People looked up and saw the open sky. No warning, no escape, just wind, fear, and death in the air. This is the story of Aloha Airlines Flight 243, and one passenger who thought he was taking a short island flight, but instead lived through one of the most terrifying miracles in aviation history. His name was Daniel Hayes. He was 29 years old, a normal sales worker from San Diego. After months of nonstop work, Daniel needed a break, so he went to Hawaii. He wanted peace. He wanted beaches. He wanted photos. He wanted memories. But he had no idea one memory would follow him for the rest of his life. Daniel loved the ocean. He loved waterfalls. He loved taking pictures. For a few days, Hawaii felt like paradise. Warm air, green mountains, blue water, roadside food, friendly people. Everything felt perfect. But paradise was hiding something. Something small, something silent, something deadly. On April 28, 1988, Daniel reached Hilo Airport. He was going to Honolulu. The flight was supposed to be short, only about 35 minutes. Just a quick island hop. People were relaxed. Tourists smiled. Families talked. Nobody was scared. Nobody thought this flight would become history. Daniel walked toward the Boeing 737. He wore shorts, a simple t-shirt, and his camera hung around his neck. He smiled at a couple behind him. "This feels more like a flying taxi," he joked. They laughed, but there was one problem. The plane had already flown many short trips that day. Again and again, up and down, island to island. That was normal in Hawaii. But every takeoff and landing puts stress on a plane. Every flight cycle matters. And this plane had been through thousands and thousands of them. Still, from the outside, it looked normal, safe, ready. But before boarding, one woman noticed something, a small crack, near a metal panel. It looked tiny, almost harmless. So she said nothing, and that silence would soon become terrifying. At 1:25 p.m., the engines started. The plane moved down the runway. Daniel looked out the window. The island slowly became smaller. The ocean opened below them. Inside the cabin, everything was calm. People talked. Some laughed. Flight attendants moved through the aisle. Drinks were served. Juice, soda, small smiles. Normal sounds. Normal life. But the real danger had not started yet. The plane climbed higher and higher and higher. At around 24,000 feet, the aircraft was under pressure. Inside, people could breathe normally. Outside, the air was thin and freezing. The only thing protecting everyone was the metal skin of the plane, a thin wall between life and death. Then suddenly, boom, a massive sound exploded through the cabin. Daniel's body slammed forward. People screamed. The plane shook violently. And then the impossible happened. The roof tore open. A huge section of the plane ripped away. Metal broke. Panels vanished. The ceiling disappeared. Daniel looked up. There was no roof. Only clouds. Only sky. Only terror. The wind attacked the cabin. It was not like normal wind. It was a monster. It blasted through the plane with brutal force. Loose items flew everywhere. Paper, bags, cups, anything not tied down was ripped away. The air was ice cold. People could barely breathe. Eyes burned. Faces froze. Voices disappeared into the storm. Daniel grabbed his seat. His seatbelt was the only thing holding him down. One thought hit his mind. I'm going to die. Then he saw something even worse. A flight attendant was gone. Clarabelle, CB Lansing, had been near the front. In seconds, she was pulled out of the aircraft. No one could save her. No one could even move. The sky had taken her, and her body would never be found. The cabin became chaos. Oxygen masks dropped, but Daniel's mask did not work. He pulled it. He tried again. Nothing. He could not get enough air. His chest tightened. His eyes watered. His hands shook. Around him, people cried. Some prayed. Some held hands. Some just stared, frozen in fear. Then, through the screaming wind, one person kept moving. Flight attendant Michelle Honda. She was injured. The plane was open. The wind was violent, but she did not stop. She crawled down the aisle. She checked passengers. She shouted instructions. She tried to keep people alive. Every movement was dangerous. One wrong slip and she could be pulled away too. But she kept going. Daniel saw her crawling past the seats. Her voice fought against the wind. "Stay down. Hold on. Keep your seatbelts tight." But the passengers still did not know the worst part. They did not know if the pilots were alive. The cockpit door had been damaged. Communication was broken. Someone whispered near Daniel, "The pilots must be gone." For 1 second, Daniel believed it. No pilot. No roof, no air, no chance. But inside the cockpit, Captain Robert Schornsteimer and First Officer Mimi Tompkins were still alive. Their oxygen masks worked. Their instruments were shaking. Their aircraft was broken. But they stayed calm. They did not panic. They did not freeze. They took control. The captain began an emergency descent. The plane dropped fast, from 24,000 feet, down toward breathable air. Daniel felt his stomach twist. His body lifted against the seatbelt. The cabin screamed. The aircraft groaned. The floor was now one of the only things holding the front and back together. One wrong move, and the plane could break in half. The pilots had to be gentle, but they also had to be fast, because people could not breathe. The plane was falling through the sky, but it had to fall in control. That was the difference between survival and death. Daniel tried to focus. One breath, then another. His hands gripped the armrest. He looked across the aisle. A stranger looked back at him. No words, just fear, just a silent message. Please let us live. But the danger was not over. Maui Airport was nearby. That was good news, but between them and safety, there were mountains. There was damaged metal. There was violent wind. And the plane was not flying normally anymore. The pilots had to guide a broken aircraft through the sky, a plane with its body torn open, a plane that should not still be flying. Then came another problem, the landing gear. The pilots were not sure if the front wheel was locked. If the nose gear failed, the plane could slam into the runway, the front could collapse, the cabin could tear apart, fuel could ignite. Fire trucks waited below. Rescue teams were ready. Everyone on the ground could see the horror coming, and everyone in the plane could feel it. Daniel tightened his seatbelt again. People around him prayed louder. Some cried quietly. Some closed their eyes. Daniel looked out. The ground was getting closer. This was it. No second chance. No backup plan. Just one landing. One runway. One miracle. Then, a small piece of hope. From the ground, someone saw the nose gear. It was down. The front wheels were in place. The control tower cheered, but Daniel did not hear that. Inside the plane, there was only wind, only fear, only waiting. At 1:58 p.m., Flight 243 touched the runway at Maui. The landing was rough. The plane shook hard. The damaged body screamed, but it stayed together. The wheels held. The aircraft slowed. And finally, it stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Then people began to move. Emergency slides opened. Passengers escaped. Daniel slid down the emergency slide. His feet hit the ground. And then he broke down. He cried, not because he was weak, because he was alive. He had seen the sky open above him. He had felt death pass inches away, and somehow, he survived. There were 95 people on board. 94 survived. Only one life was lost. Clarabelle Lansing, a woman doing her job, a woman remembered for her courage. The days after the accident were heavy for Daniel. He could not stop thinking. What if the crack had been reported? What if his seatbelt had been loose? What if the pilots had panicked? What if Michelle Honda had stopped moving? What if the plane had broken apart? But the answer was always the same. He was alive because ordinary people became heroes. Michelle Honda fought for the passengers. The pilots fought for control. The passengers held on. And a broken plane somehow made it back to Earth. Years later, Daniel still flies. But every time he sits in a plane, he buckles his seatbelt a little tighter. He looks at the ceiling. He takes a breath. And he remembers that day. The day the sky opened. The day fear filled the cabin. The day a short flight became a miracle. This story is not only about a plane. It is about courage. It is about survival. It is about how life can change in 1 second. One moment, you are smiling on vacation. The next moment, you are fighting to breathe at 24,000 feet. Aloha Flight 243 reminds us of something powerful. When everything breaks apart, hope can still remain. When fear takes over, courage can still move. And when the sky itself opens above you, sometimes a miracle still finds a way. Because on that day, Flight 243 did not fall from the sky. It fought. It survived. And the people inside never forgot it.